Hello and welcome back to the She is Courageous podcast. Right, this week, I think this is a subject I've been putting off, and I'm going to be really honest about why, and that's because it's one that's very close to my heart. I'm going to talk about money mindset. Now, there is so much we could get into on money mindset, and my commitment has always been to keep this podcast short, sharp and digestible. So we're going to do lots of stuff on money mindset over coming episodes, and I plan to be around for a while. But I want to start at the beginning because some of you may have heard the term money mindset. Some of you may be really familiar with what money mindset is. Some of you might not. And I wasn't. Okay, like all this stuff, this has all been new to me over the last few years. But the more work I did on mindset, the more I started to understand money mindset and mine. And anyone that is in my world, be they a client or a member of the She is Courageous Collective, or even just in my audience, will probably have heard me talk about, very honestly, my own money mindset. Now, before I go any further, and I am going to share a little bit of insight into my money mindset, I've just had to take a breath as I've said that out loud because that feels quite courageous, and we'll get to that. But I want to just be really clear, what do I mean by the term money mindset? So I talk about mindset all the time, the setting of our mind, the things that we believe to be true, the way we see ourselves and the world around us and our place in it. Your money mindset, our money mindset, how many times can I say that without getting tongue-tied, is your unique set of beliefs about money. It's your set of beliefs about money, okay? Everything in your life is a direct reflection of your beliefs. I've talked about this before, and I will say it again and again and again. Everything you do or don't do, everything you do or don't have, is a direct reflection of your beliefs. So, your money story, your money mindset, is a direct reflection of your beliefs about money. Your money story drives your decisions about saving, spending, sharing, handling, anything to do with money. It's what drives you in terms of what you believe you can or cannot do with money, and maybe even how much you believe you're allowed to have. So yes, what I am saying here is that your savings, your debt, your comfort with spending, your comfort with receiving is all within your beliefs, your thoughts, your attitudes about money. To really understand your money story, though, you have to think about what you think about money. I'm going to say that again. You have to think about what you think about money. You have to think about how you behave with money right here, right now, in current world. You have to think about what you have learned, the whole story. You have to get really honest with yourself. And in truth, like everything when it comes to beliefs, you have to do a bit of delving into the past. Now, as you know, I am not a coach who uses modalities like hypnotherapy, CBT. I don't use those modalities. I talk really practically, and I just get you to see what comes up for you. There are other people that can help with other ways if you want to take this layers deeper. So money mindset, like everything when it comes to mindset, is rooted in your beliefs. And remember, a belief is something that you have decided is true for you. And every belief we have comes from what we've learned, whether that's literally or less literally, but through environment, experience, example. So I said I was going to allude to my money mindset because this is one that I learned quite early on was definitely a blocker for me. And when it comes to running a business, money mindset's really important. And I first started exploring mindset in my first year in business, and that led into exploring and understanding money mindset and watching some other coaches and learning some stuff from them. And I realised that I did not have a particularly healthy relationship with money. And notice those words I've used. So I've not said about my mindset. I noticed that I didn't have a particularly healthy relationship with money. I noticed that essentially money more often than not made me feel stressed. Now, I like spending money when I've got it. I like doing nice things. I like having nice things. But actually, more of my time, probably still is, but certainly I realised that I spent more time worried about money than enjoying money. Now, these days, I have a massive awareness for how this plays out. And so I know how to handle it, and it does still play out because these are deep-rooted beliefs and deep-rooted learnings that I've been carrying for years. So because I have so much more awareness of my money mindset and how it plays out, I can see it for what it is, and I can kind of step in before it gets out of control. But I would be lying if I said I didn't still have a bit of a tendency to have a default where basically my mindset goes to, we don't have enough. We can't afford. But I want to have enough. I do have enough in many cases. I've worked damn hard to have enough. I want to do things. I want to have more. And I'm not ashamed to say that out loud. But I have this deep-rooted belief, this learning, we don't have enough, we can't afford. Now, I grew up not rich, but not poor. I want to be really clear about that. I didn't grow up in poverty. I didn't really want for anything in the sense of I had a roof over my head. There was food on the table. We were able to do things. We went on holidays. We didn't necessarily go abroad. And this is what I mean about we weren't rich. We didn't go abroad on holidays. We didn't eat out at restaurants all the time. We didn't have an abundance of money. We didn't get showered with gifts and things like that. But we had what we needed. I wasn't in any sense lacking for what a child needed in her youth. But like most kids, I'm sure, I wanted more. And that I wanted more stayed with me. And I should really say that money mindset isn't always just about money. It can play out in lots of different ways. So I think, my parents and sisters might say something differently, but I was always someone that wanted a bit more. I always just kind of strived for a little bit more. I wanted to be better at school. I wanted to be better in sports. I wanted to have things I didn't have. I just always wanted a bit more. I looked around me and this is not a healthy mindset to have, but it always seemed like everybody else did have more. But here's what I learned. Here's what I was taught, actually. And everything we learn from people that are doing the best with the resources they've got. All right? And I say that now because money can be quite an emotive subject. And so if you are listening to this and it brings up stuff for you, I just want to remind everybody that everything we learn comes from, in the main, people who are doing the best with the resources they've got. And here's what I learned. I was taught because I was told if I wanted something, then I would need to find a way to get that for myself. And that way would be, well, you've got to work for it. So my pocket money had to be earned. Who used to get pocket money? Do they even call it that these days? Anyway, we got pocket money, but we had to earn pocket money. We had to do chores to get our pocket money. And I was told pretty much as soon as I was able to, well, if you want more, you're going to have to go and get a job. You're going to have to go and earn money for the things that you say you want. And I grew up in the era where you didn't have to wait till, I don't even know how old you have to be to get a job these days, but we won't get anyone into trouble. Let's just say that I was out earning money as pretty much as soon as I could. And actually, those were the days where you could, I don't think I did this, but you could be up and down the street trying to wash cars. But I certainly got out there earning money as quickly as I could. So I took a paper round as soon as I could get out there safely to do so. I worked on a market stall. This is probably not necessarily surprising to anybody. Those of you know me in terms of work ethic, hearing that I started out on a market stall might not be a surprise. I got a Saturday job. I worked hard. I would work more hours if I could. I wanted more money to do more things, to have more things. Now that has created a really strong work ethic in me. There is no doubt at all I wouldn't have got as far in my career as I did if I didn't work as hard as I did, okay? So there's a real positive in there. But it's also created a belief that I have to work hard for money, as well as, truth be told, a belief that there is never enough. Because there was a narrative in my household, in the family, in the environment I grew up in, that there is not enough. There is not enough for us to do that. And my interpretation of that became, there is never enough. Now, I'm obviously much further down the line. I've done a huge amount of work on money mindset, but I'm very aware I do have a default. I have a default to there's not enough. I have a default to I have to work hard for money. That can play out as hustle, okay? Now, I live in a nice house. I live in Dubai, for Christ's sake. I live in a nice house. I have a very nice life, but I've worked really hard for it. And I have a fear of losing it. That's a deep fear. I have a fear and a worry of losing everything that we worked for. And I'm not actually sure where that one comes from. I haven't done huge amounts of work in delving into that. I've got some suspicions, I've got some things, but I don't want to make this all about me. I just want to share really openly that I see myself as a successful business owner. I see myself as a successful corporate employee who had a very successful career. But I absolutely have challenges when it comes to money mindset. And it doesn't necessarily play out in terms of spending or not spending. It is simply an awareness that when I'm making a decision about spending or not spending, there are some default thoughts that come up. I still work very hard these days, and I often feel guilty when not working, and then feel not deserving perhaps of the money that I'm earning. I am someone that's always looking for a bargain. If I decide I'm going to have something, I will probably do a decent amount of searching around to find a better price, a more cost-effective way to get it. I still struggle to spend on certain things. I fear debt. And I can slip into a scarcity mindset way too quickly for a mindset coach. And that's quite vulnerable for a coach to share. I'm not perfect. I say that all the time. I am absolutely not perfect. And that is why I do the work I do. And I share really openly I'm not perfect. I'm always working on me, always leading by example. But I have absolute awareness when it comes to my money mindset. And I spot it faster than I ever have. And I know how to face into it and what to do differently. Now, money is a really big subject, and it's a really important subject for business owners. Because actually, if we have a business that's not making money, let's be honest, it's not a business. It's a time-draining hobby, or God forbid, I don't know what else to call it. It's a time drainer, and it's more like a hobby. But it's probably not making you happy like a hobby did. Running a business is about making money. So your relationship with money is really, really important. But I can tell you for sure, money mindset is not just about business. Money mindset plays out in all aspects of your life. I've shared many times with people that I've worked with that back in 2020, when my husband was made redundant and I was in the first year of my business, my money mindset took a huge hit, a massive knock. I went sliding down the slide of scarcity at a rate of knots. And yet the truth was, we were fine financially. But the fear and the worry and the anxiety was real. That was my fear of never enough, my fear of losing it, my fear of debt, my fear of. And that was my money fears. So I want you today to really think about your money mindset. Because whatever success looks like for you, I would imagine there's an element of financial success in that. And money's just a tool, right? But money can help you get the things that you want. It can help you do the things you want to do. Money makes life easier. There's no getting away from it. So I want to really encourage you and invite you today to think about your money mindset. I want you to be aware of your red flags. I want you, if you've never done this work before, to take a look now and maybe think about how is your money mindset and how could that be playing out in your life and or your business right now. So as I said, money mindset is about your money story. It's what you've learned about money. It's what you've learned to believe about money. It's what you've learned to believe about you and money. Just the same way I always say, your mindset is what you've learned to believe about you, the world around you, and your place in it. So here's some questions. I'd like you to answer these questions because it will be the first stage of really thinking about your money mindset. So if you haven't already, now if you're driving a car right now, clearly you can't do this now. But if you're not and you are able to, either get the Notes app out on your phone or get yourself a notebook. And I want you to write down what comes up when I ask you these questions, because I want you to think about your money story, your current reality when it comes to money, and then whether there are patterns and dots that can be joined, because that is how we identify our money mindset, our money story, because your patterns become your story and your story becomes your reality. So here's the first question for you. What is your first memory with money? what is your first memory when it comes to money? And I want you to really think about that. Now, it might seem at first quite hard to go back into the memory vault, but actually I guarantee something comes up. I want you to tap into whatever came up as the first thing you thought about. Because I want you to consider, was it a happy memory? Was it a sad memory? Does it bring up scarcity and confusion, frustration and anger? Or does it bring up laughter and abundance, joy? Where were you? What was happening? Who else was there? What emotions does it bring up for you? What does it get you feeling in relation to money? Our first money memories are really telling. So what is your first memory when it comes to money? The next question is, what did your family believe about money and how it worked? Now, I've given you a little bit of insight. There was definitely a narrative in our family of you have to work really hard to have money. There was a bit of a narrative of we don't have enough money. There was a bit of narrative of people like us don't have that kind of money. So what were some of the common things you heard? Like, what were some of the phrases you grew up? God, if I'd had a quid for every time my mum said money doesn't grow on trees, I would have been a millionaire, I'm pretty sure of it. Now, many of us grew up with that phrase, but what else did you grow up with? What did you hear? Because there's the money doesn't grow on trees, but there's also things like money doesn't make the world go round, or money is the root of all evil, which is a harmless phrase, right? Or is it? What did you hear? What did you see and learn from your family about money and how it worked? Many people talk about how, their parents argued about money all the time. Many people talk about how perhaps one partner gave money freely, willingly, lovingly all the time, or to shut the other person up. What was yours? What was your experience in your family of money? The next question, and please feel free to pause this as we're going through if you want to kind of write as we do this. The next one to ask yourself is, what do you believe about money? What do you most commonly think or feel when you think about money right here, right now? This is the reality moment of your current world. Are you someone that always feels like there's never enough money? So I've shared with you that was definitely a narrative for me. That is not how I feel most of the time about money. It might be a little default worry, but it's not how I feel. Do you feel like there's never enough? Or do you feel like there's always more money? There's always more where that came from. You don't worry about money because you know you'll find it. I'm going to share with you some really common beliefs around money that might help you expand on this, okay? So maybe you find yourself, what are the things you think about money, right? Do you think things like, I'm really bad with money? I just can't save. I could never save any money. I never have enough money. I can't ever seem to make enough money. I'm really ashamed to admit I've got debt. Maybe you think that making money means taking it from someone else, or, like the one I've shared, to have money, you have to work really hard because success is hard to achieve because you have to work hard and earn your money. Maybe you think that there's always a cheaper way. Maybe you really worry about living beyond your means. Maybe you feel like you shouldn't make money by helping people because helping people should just be a good thing to do. Maybe you just live by the words of, it's too expensive. Really notice what you notice. What comes up for you when I'm saying some of those things? What does it remind you that you often say or think about money? Next up, what do you believe about people that have a lot of money? So this isn't just about how you perceive money or you with money, but actually, do you have some deep-rooted beliefs about people who have money? Because actually many of us have grown up with a narrative that people with money are greedy. Now, some of that isn't even like family stuff, right? If you grew up in the 80s like I did, watching Dallas and Dynasty, it was full of rich bitches. What does that create in terms of beliefs? But if you think about some of the films we watch, so often it's the wealthy, rich people that are the villains. How many films is the rich person the good person versus the underdog that always comes out on top in the end, that always does good? What does it bring up for you when you think about people with money? When you think about famous millionaire, billionaires, celebrities, public figures? What does it then make you think about you? And the last question I'd really like you to consider, to ponder, is what do you think people will think of you if you have a lot of money? Because sometimes what we do is we stay trapped in our limiting beliefs about money, and we prevent ourselves from making more money because when it really comes down to it, we are worried about what others will think. We're worried we won't be accepted. We're worried that we'll be judged. We're worried that actually they're going to think the things that we think about people that have money. So what does it bring up for you? What do you think or worry that people might think or feel about you if you were to become wealthy, inverted commas, whatever that means for you? I really invite you to kind of ponder those questions to see what comes up for you. But of course, I want to give you some practical stuff too. I want to remind you that you can change your mindset, you can work on your mindset, and you can do the same with money mindset. You can do this both in terms of how you think and feel about money, as well as practically how you address how it might be playing out for you. So first of all, you've got to get awareness. You've got to get clear on what are your current feelings, thoughts about money. Awareness is the first step of change. What do you currently think and feel when it comes to money, and how is that playing out for you right now? Is what you think and feel true? Like if you think all the time there's never enough, is that true? Is it true that you don't actually have enough money for the things you want to do? Or is it that you tell yourself that all the time? Challenge the current thought process. Maybe just look for some evidence to the contrary. And that's how you start to learn to change beliefs. Something that I read about once before is actually the very first thing to do when it comes to any money mindset work is do a full inventory audit of your financial situation. How much money do you have in real terms, but also in asset terms? What is your net worth? But also the reality of how much debt do you have? How much money do you owe? Because actually it can be a pleasant surprise, but it's also really important to face into the facts. And that leads me really nicely. I just want to give some really practical tips. I was thinking about what are the most common impacts I see and how can I just give you some starting points. So I want to help you identify your money mindset. And I just want to invite you to get honest, notice how it's playing out, and maybe just start to see where could you challenge your own mindset straight away. But here's some really practical starting points. If you are an overspender, maybe you have a belief something like, if I spend money, I feel good. If I spend money, it's a reward. Or I need to keep up with others. Now, they're just something, this can go in all directions. But many overspenders are trying to feel better, trying to reward themselves or make them feel better about something, or trying to keep up with other people. If you are an overspender and you don't want to be an overspender, what you could start with is creating a way to pause before you purchase. And a really good question to ask yourself is, do I really want this? Or, more importantly, will I still want this in 24 hours' time? Because if the answer to that is no, in the pause, don't purchase, don't spend that money. That simple pause can give you a little bit of clarity, can help you start to break the habit of spending, but also help you answer the question, do I really want this? What am I trying to get from this purchase? So that's if you're an overspender. If you are in business and you are undercharging for your services constantly, if you haven't put your prices up for a while, maybe you have a belief that you're not worth more money, or you are deciding for others that people won't pay higher prices. Now there's two things there. There's some work to do on your worth and realising the worth that you bring, the service that you offer. In terms of won't pay higher prices, what that actually is a projection. And it's saying to me that you wouldn't pay that, which is a different piece of work to do. Now, raising prices is always scary, but you could do it gradually. You could take a small step on raising your prices because it will take you through the whole experience, and probably, because 99 times out of 100 it does, show you that everybody will just say, yeah, no worries. You've got to remember your skills, your expertise absolutely has value, and charging the right amount will actually attract the people who respect that value. If you are someone who feels guilty about making money, which is very common, particularly in the service world, Maybe you have some belief around money, greed, selfishness. What you could do is start by trying to reframe money as a tool for good. And here's a little challenge for you. I'd love you to write down 3 positive things you can do with the money that you earn. Whether that's supporting a family member, or investing in your growth in the business, or donating to a cause that's important to you. You can do good things with money too. More money can mean more impact. More money does not need to mean greedy or selfish. So reframe that belief. That can also help you with looking at your finances because you want to do good things. It can also help you with raising your prices because more money can mean more impact. So you can use that one on a number of things. And finally, if you are someone that tells yourself constantly, I hate selling, so you avoid selling, therefore you do not make money, it could be aligned to a belief that selling is yucky, selling is pushy. Maybe you've experienced pushy sales in the past and you don't want to do that to others. Maybe you even have a belief that selling is really aggressive. That's definitely something that, as I said that out loud, that's definitely something like I grew up in, or I went out to work in late 90s, early noughties, the early 2000s, and there was definitely like a really strong sales culture. And I definitely saw salespeople as aggressive. I was in retail for a long time. I think I learned somewhere along the line that selling, you had to be quite aggressive to sell. I am not an aggressive salesperson. I don't like selling, inverted commas, but I do like making money and I do like giving a service. So I want you to think about shifting your mindset from selling to serving. When you're offering your service, what you're actually doing is saying, I have a solution. I have a solution for the problem that you've got. Let me help you. If you're selling a product, you still have a solution. So if you have any concerns about selling, if you struggle to sell and you know that holds you back from making more money in your business, I want you to think about how can you reframe that to the service you offer, the problem you solve, the desire you satisfy. This is how you support others rather than this is how you sell. Now, I could go on and on because there is so much when it comes to money mindset, but I really hope these small practical tips help. I hope these things that I've picked up on resonate, or one of them at least resonates for you and gives you something to think about, because every single one of them is just chipping away at old beliefs to build a healthier and, of course, more courageous relationship with money. Changing your money mindset is not easy, relatively simple, but will be a game changer for your business. It's not about perfection, people. It's only ever about progress. It's about taking one small step, one small decision, one courageous action at a time. I really hope this episode has resonated, got you thinking about your money mindset, maybe even brought something up for you that you haven't thought of previously. More importantly, shows you that you too can improve your relationship with money, can improve your money mindset, and that will ripple through your life and your business. If it has resonated for you, if it's got you thinking about someone else who could definitely do with some help on their money mindset, be careful with that one, but share it with them anyway. Or share this on the socials and tag me at Shelley Bosworth Coaching at She Is Courageous Collective. Links will be in the show notes as always. And as ever, let me remind you to go over and hit that follow button, hit subscribe, whichever it is on your platform, because the more people that follow and subscribe, the more we get pushed out, which means more people will hear the messages of the She Is Courageous podcast, and more people will learn how to build their courageous mindset and ultimately achieve their goals. Thank you so much for listening this week. As ever, let me finish off with the reminder that she is courageous and she is you.